what do you need to do to make sure that you can consistently achieve serial A pluses? As I mentioned, the most common mistake that people are making in that first year is that they are spending way too long getting into it. They're just like tackling it at high school speed or just doing, best effort. But you got to realize like best effort isn't really good enough necessarily. Like effort alone is not going to be the thing that differentiates it, because the thing is that you may be doing your best and you may think that's enough to compensate for any sort of effort discrepancy, but everyone is going to start doing their best. Like no one is trying as hard in high school as they are in first year. Well, very few people are. And so when they enter into university, like everyone is raising their bar and they're going to be trying harder. So just by trying harder is probably not gonna do it. My circumstances, my story of going into first year is very extreme, like extremely extreme. It's like the most extreme story that you will ever hear of anyone trying to enter into medical school ever. Even me, where I have like an entire organization established to get students into medical school, even I have never seen a student that has been as extreme as I was. I'm not going to go into that because it's not super relevant. I've got like a little story written up about that on the about page of our website, I think. But long story short, I was like sleeping like 2 hours a day and I was just studying nonstop, and that was all I was doing. That's not really recommended. And if you tackle your year that way with only effort, you're not likely to get good results. I kind of got into medicine by luck. Like, it's a good thing I just didn't have a complete mental breakdown in my first year. I actually kind of did, but it's a good thing I didn't just let that affect me, although I kind of did. So at the end of the day, it really was just luck that I got into medical school at the end of the day. Looking back on it now, that was such a bad way of going through it. None of my students are doing that. They're studying like 1/4 the amount of time that I was studying, and they're actually getting just as good grades as I was getting in medical in first year as well. So it's really just about that technique and being smart about it. And yeah, I wasn't taking breaks at all. In terms of how to study more effectively, I really recommend checking out my personal page, my personal Facebook page. Teaching students to study more effectively is like my main thing, and I post a lot about that. There are a lot of study tips that are floating around that will do more harm than good. I would. That's the first thing that I'd recommend, is just go into that. I've got some courses coming out as well. If anyone's interested, you can message me about that separately. I'm not going to go into that now, but it is something that you should be investing in. Just looking through the comments. Is it beneficial to do scholarship exams? I'll start with the first one. Would you say it's like an A star at A level in half a year for comparison's sake? Probably harder than that. I would say it's probably like an A star at A level in maybe like one term. It's probably similar. Roughly, maybe. It depends, but you have to remember you're doing like 3 of these papers simultaneously, right? So it kind of becomes a little bit harder than just that if you look at it in isolation.